Hello, beautiful soul family, and welcome to Weekly Wisdom and Insights, your home for spiritually guided transformation and empowerment. I am your host, Dearjames, and together with the unseen, Spirit, Source, and Symphony, we look at the current energies, the wisdom from the unseen, and we go as guided. And once again, an action-packed moment in time. Mars squaring Pluto for, I think, the first of maybe 5 times coming up. And we also have the Mercury Sun CAZIMI coming up here Thursday, I think. Today, tomorrow, Thursday. Anyways, lots. And then an upcoming full moon, the summer solstice. There's a lot of activity and energy. And we have a very ancient, powerful, and yet simple main theme and message. And so we're going to jump right to it and bring up the main theme, which is this beautiful bloom where you are planted. And again, it's an ancient, and you'll see why. We're going to cover it in a moment. However, this dates back to biblical times. It's referenced biblically. And it has such a powerful meaning beyond the simpleness that it has taken on. But this bloom where you're planted. So welcome, Alicia. And as you're joining from around the globe, put a shout out in the comments. Let us know you're there. And also remember that we take your comments and questions live throughout the broadcast. So let's look at the current energies, our main energies first, and then we'll move into some of these things. And we're going to cover, so June is a 6, it represents the number 6, and it's about conflict and let go, and we're going to cover that ever so briefly. Let me just jump into that really quickly here. And as we're doing it, hexagram 6, conflict often arises when a person who is convinced that he or she is entitled to something meets with opposition. So an issue of entitlement, and this is from tarot.com. And remember, hexagram 6 is about conflict, let go. So let go of the entitlement, let go of things that we believe we're entitled to, and look at the bigger picture, and you'll see how this bloom where you're planted ties into that. In such cases, the wise choice is not to push things to the bitter end, because knocking heads perpetuates ill will. Creative solutions that meet others halfway are more valuable and longer lasting than victories achieved through force. And we had this a couple of shows back, this difference between strength and force. Conflicts in which one party is not sincere inevitably lead to subterfuge and distortions. In such situations, those of strong character keep a clear head, protect their integrity, and look out for their own interests even while seeking compromise. It can help to find a fair-minded mediator who can settle these matters. So again, there's mediation, there's compromise, there's coming to the table, there's understanding, because it's about conflict, let go. In times of conflict and turmoil, new ventures and new initiatives should be avoided, or again, taken with greater discernment. Instead, examine the sincerity of your current beliefs and the beliefs of those around you. Seek advice or arbitration from an impartial and mature person. Consider everything carefully before making any major decisions. Consider the option of compromise. And of course, politically in the last 2 decades, the C word, compromise, has become this dirty word, and yet it's where we find common ground. It's where it creates and we can manifest a win-win situation and scenario. And so it says, clarify the roles and responsibilities of those with whom you live and work to reduce conflict in the future. So there's this beautiful aspect here where what we're looking for in conflict let go is compromise, resolution, coming to the table, and how these will play in as we look at this bloom where you're planted. So going back to the main energies. So we have 6, conflict, let go. And then today is 12, standstill. It's the 12th of June. Standstill, release. And back on the 29th of May, we had literally, the main theme was standstill, the power and joy of new beginnings. And so all of this is guiding us to new beginnings and how to reach them. We're going around, we're going back to where we began, an octave higher. It's an 8-year all year long, so uniting, unite, coming together. See how compromise, coming together. And we unite from the inside out. Now, the interesting thing is that the 6, the 12, and the 8 can become a 26, which is about controlled power, amplify. And so how we magnify and amplify our empowerment, our power, but we do so in a controlled manner. We don't run roughshod over everyone. We do so in a controlled way, in a respectful way. And then it can also become a 17, which is approach, advance. Actually, 17, there's an error there. 17 is about follow, show by example. So follow, be led. I apologize for that on the screen. And then, of course, we've got double eights because the 26 and the 17 become an 8 again. So this doubling down on the issue of uniting, coming together, advancing. It is the Aquarian matriarchal era way, is to come into harmony, into balance, into union. And so this, the Piscean patriarchal of kill or be killed, and my way or the highway, and all this, it's over, it's ending. We've been there, we've done it, and now it's the Great Mother's turn. She has arrived again, and she will carry us forward in that manner. So now let's look at the astrological influences. And I loved this theme because the minute, again, we're talking about Mars square Pluto, Mercury and the Sun have their CAZIMI, meaning Mercury is in the heart of the Sun, and that takes place on the 14th. And today is literally, or I'm sorry, yesterday was literally the first Mars square Pluto at 1 degree Taurus, 1 degree Aquarius, respectively. And there's this theme that came with these astrological energies that said, it's now or never. And it goes to number 2 from the unseen. They literally said, it's now or never. Make your move or moves, or forever hold your peace. And it harked back to when, in weddings and stuff where somebody's up there and they're being married, and, if anyone should have a reason for these two not to be joined, speak now or forever hold your peace. Well, it's a similar thing. The energies are saying it's now or never. And this played to the image that I kept seeing was the full moon. And so let me tie this in with our astrological influences. It's now or never. And you can see that on June 11th, it's Mars square Pluto. A square is a confrontational aspect. It creates friction because something needs to be released. And so Mars, the creative force, divine masculine, the way we act against Pluto, squaring Pluto. And Mars is in Taurus, Earth. Pluto is in Aquarius, air. They're both fixed signs. And we have this issue where the conflict is about manifesting and releasing, and thereby, so it's positive. It's always positive, no matter how it appears on the world stage. It's still a positive aspect because it's happening so that we move ourselves forward. And then the Sun, Mercury, CAZIMI. So our thoughts, the way we communicate, all of these things. The old is being burned away, making room for the new, the emptying of the vessel, and it's in Gemini, the twins. So let me take this because there was an image with this that came along from the unseen, and I kept seeing the full moon, and then I heard the 3 of Cups. And so our key word is fulfillment. And fulfillment is a feeling of happiness and satisfaction. It's also the completion of something, like the fulfillment of a promise. In terms of emotions, fulfillment is a happy, contented feeling. People often feel fulfillment when something is completed, whether it's a goal or a dream or something you've been waiting on. The other meaning of fulfillment is the act of finishing or doing something that was promised. So we have this keyword fulfillment, and then let me just bring in the image that the unseen had brought to me about this full moon and the 3 of Cups. And you see there's 3 images of the 3 of Cups. On the far left is the Llewellyn Tarot. And you see it's always typically in the Rider-Waite deck and so forth, it's represented by 3 women, one of which her back is turned to us, but they're in celebration. Their cups are raised. And so there's, again, unity, there's celebration, there's gathering. And in the far left, the Llewellyn Tarot image, you see the full moon. If you go to the far right, the opposite side, you see the Light Seer's Tarot representation. Now in this one, all three have their backs turned to us, but they're looking up. They're arm in arm, they're in union, in unity with one another, and they're looking up at some celestial, like celestial orbs, something happening that is a celestial event or sign. And then in the middle is this beautiful piece of jewelry that was created by Maura Green. And you see the iridescent, three hands, they're iridescent, and they have three gold cups, and they're being raised. So there's a theme about gold cups, unity, union, divine feminine, this gathering, celebration, and there's something being denoted about or around the full moon, which is coming up around the 20th or 21st next week, the summer solstice. So this, it's now or never, make your move or moves, or forever hold your peace. There's always an aspect of, as you all know, divine time versus earth time, or divine time versus our time, but it's always in divine time. And so there's something about the Mars square Pluto, the Mercury Sun CAZIMI, the upcoming full moon, the summer solstice, this window that says, act now or forever hold your peace. It's like, it's now or never. And this harking back to the bloom where you're planted, and you're going to see how this plays out. Alicia's saying, I made my move. Here's hoping I get the results I'm looking for. Exactly. And when we act with purity of intention, when we act at the forefront from a state and place of goodness, it's not about revenge and retribution and illicit gains and shadow aspects. When we do right by ourselves, truly do right by ourselves, and then by others, because remember, we're a mirror. So when we defend ourselves, we are simply mirroring to another what is right, what is true, when we act with pure intentions. And then we're open to compromise, communication, coming together to resolve something in everyone's highest and best. It's why we have mediation. It's why we have these terms, because we come together. And in that, we're able to find unity and compromise. It's a beautiful, because again, it harks back to the main theme, bloom where you're planted, that everything is purposeful. No matter where you are in life, what your station is, where you are, what's happening, you've been guided there. The unseen, God, Spirit, Source, Symphony, Buddha, Allah, all that is. You have been guided there. It's part of your soul plan. And it's purposeful. It's for a reason. And you'll see how this harks all the way back to biblical times. So we have these, just bear in mind, keep watching this beautiful scene. It'll be posted on the Facebook comments afterwards. The Three of Cups, these three images of the Three of Cups, and how there's an upcoming unity, celebration, reunion. It's positive, it's full, it's the full moon, it's the deliverance, it's the culmination of something. These celestial orbs, that something from a higher octave, a higher hand, is bestowed upon us, bestowed upon you. So that's where we're looking at. So now let's move into our mantra. And our mantra is, I cherish every moment. So keep all of these in mind, the Three of Cups, the union, the celebration, the conflict, let go, union, compromise, coming together. And this beautiful image, it's a bowl of cherries. And it's, I cherish every moment. Because again, is it a bowl of cherries or is it a bowl of pits? It's a bowl of cherries. It's all purposeful. And there's such a, the ruby redness of them, there's such a joy to them. It instantly came to me. This, I cherish every moment, in this bowl of cherries. So this is where we're harking. We're going to start with, we're going to backtrack a little and go to Pam Youngin's North Point Journal regarding this Mars square Pluto aspect. And I'm going to share my screen and we are going to take off here. So that's funny because it's part of the that takeoff, liftoff, as you will see here in a moment. So the Mars effect. As we journey through the rest of 2024, the planet Mars will be a major player in our shared experience due to making hard aspects to each of the 5 outer planets. As each of these aspects becomes exact, remember the outer planets affect, long-term change. They're not the interpersonal planets, they're the outer planets. And so Mars is going to aspect them, these 5 outer planets. And so it's about major change. As each of these aspects becomes exact, we can expect to see an increase in tension, perhaps accompanied by fireworks. Here are the dates to watch. The red planet Mars squares Pluto on June 11th, this was yesterday, conjoins Uranus on July 15th, conjoins Jupiter and squares Saturn on August 14th, 15th, squares Neptune on the September 2nd, and then opposes Pluto on November 3rd. The Mars-Pluto opposition then repeats twice in 2025 on January 2nd and April 26th. So how we act, the creative force, the divine masculine, is going to be aspecting. So sometimes it's conjoining, expect the unexpected, coming together with. So Uranus and Jupiter. So the expect the unexpected, the higher octave, the higher mind, and Jupiter, the great benefactor. Then it squares, it's confrontational, it's a friction about releasing something. Saturn, the great teacher. Neptune, illusions, dreams, these types of things. And then again, the opposition to Pluto. Pam Youngans goes on to say, Mars-Pluto square. This week with Mars in traditional Taurus square Pluto in progressive Aquarius, a conflict arises between what is comfortable and familiar versus that which is new and unknown. This may express as stubborn resistance to changes that may be uncomfortable but also necessary if we truly want to move forward in our life. So again, when we recognize that we bloom where you are planted, that we are exactly, and it's the first thing the unseen said, at the right place at the right time. Always, always. And if anything were to change, it's like a deck shuffle. So when we recognize that we're always in the right place at the right time, we're never late, we're never lost, we're always somewhere, we have this foundation, this just inner peace, kind of stillness, and you'll see how all of those play to this bloom where you're planted. So the point being, though, is at the right place at the right time, always, in all ways. And if something should change or we make different decisions, the deck shuffles. It reroutes us. It's like any Waze and GPS and all of these things that navigate us in our vehicles. If we make a wrong turn, or if we go a different, or we decide we want to go somewhere, the system reroutes us. It's the same with our soul. It's the same with our God positioning satellite, if you will, our soul source connection. The system knows to reroute us. It knows to shuffle the deck. And thereby, it's always purposeful. It's intended. It's not, there are no accidents. There's only choices. We make choices in life. And from those choices, we learn, we experience, and we can ascend, evolve, devolve. It depends on what we're wanting to learn, what our soul wants to learn. But we have this aspect. So going back to finish up with, she says that with Pam Youngan's North Point Journal, the Mars-Pluto square, that it can become uncomfortable. And that's because we're facing something, we're doing something we haven't done before, or maybe we don't want to do, but it's necessary. Because the square, the Mars-Pluto square, creates the friction, the conflict, for the sole purpose of advancement, to advance us. So it's about, as she's saying, if we truly want to move forward in life. Pluto always initiates a process of transformation, but willful Mars is likely to dig in its heels. Both Aquarius and Taurus are fixed signs, indicating a certain lack of flexibility. The result may be confrontations and power struggles. And remember, we had that, that was just a week or two ago in the shows, these, something about power struggles. Yeah, power plays, power moves. Expect the unexpected. And that was from the 22nd of May show. So it can be about these power struggles and internally and externally. So again, we're uniting from the inside out. We're facing these things, we're having these confrontations to move ourselves forward. It is not for us to, again, run roughshod over others. It's about allowing each of us to come to a realization of what's needed, and we're reflecting to one another so that we all advance. It's unity, uniting. One positive way to work with this influence is to put steady effort into a project that will ultimately change our lives in some positive way, even if it causes discomfort in the short term. So this is these Mars, this is energies from Pam Youngin's North Point Journal about the Mars square Pluto, this aspect. And again, the full moon, the summer solstice, it's now or never, make your move, or forever hold your peace. So, where there may be change in your individual lives, where you may be wanting to advance, and where you may be up against, you could be procrastinating, you could have been trying to avoid something, avoidance, whatever it may be, it's advancing you. And so, it's now or never. Make your move. Do so with humility, with confidence, and yet with empowerment, because there's nothing wrong with defending yourself or trying to find compromise, resolution, so that it moves everyone to a new, a new, what's your new normal? It's that type of thing. So now let's move into hexagram 12, which is standstill. And there's a beauty in this that, again, it was on one of the previous shows that was our main theme, standstill. And so here it is, standstill. Its action is release. Its hidden influence is development, to permeate. And so we want these changes to be long lasting. We want, so to walk through the fire, to go through this friction, this Mars Pluto square, the burning of the Mercury and CAZIMI, the sun, is like in the heart of, to renew our thoughts and how we think and how we communicate, emptying our vessel. It's burning this all away for our development. And then it's to permeate us so it remains, it holds, it permeates our being, it becomes our new normal. And its underlining cause, peace. Relax. So there's peace, there's joy, there's harmony, there's unity. So this is from Carrie Hone at cafeosoul.com. And it's one of our first quotes. Fresh activity, this is from Goth. Fresh activity is the only means of overcoming adversity. So it's in our freshness, in our newness, in the new approach, in the deliverance of overcoming an issue. That fresh activity, that is the only means of overcoming adversity. And there's such a beauty you see in the image, the sunlight coming through and kind of radiating on these beautiful blue flowers and the green. And it's all about new growth, possibility, limitless possibility when we take action, and how it brings about, it overcomes adversity, it brings about fresh activity, the new. So we go on. Our desire for the familiar and to know peace can often lead us away from further growth. Therefore, after a time of peace as the underlying cause, a situation can lead to stagnation or standstill. You are asked to release something so that development can proceed. The purpose of receiving this hexagram is to remind you that all of life changes and moves toward growth. Humans cannot remain on the sidelines. It can be frustrating to throw your enthusiasm against the course of events that seem to have placed you in a holding pattern. Patience is how you release your sense of urgency and allow the outcome to unfold. So this whole aspect of right place, right time, divine time, it will always, it's ever present. And thereby how we release this, and how comfort, fear, comfort, whatever, can keep us stagnant, standstill. It can keep us from moving and advancing forward. And so, and that how patience allows us that the outcome will unfold. The hidden influence allows for the development of a new awareness, skills, or ways of interacting with the world. To learn how to be steadfast, one must relinquish expectation, assumptions, and impatience. And remember, we had that with hexagram 6. It's releasing expectations, the entitlement of something, or the attachment to an outcome, or with the purity of intention, everything, when you operate from that place, and again, it's pure, it's not shadow aspect, it's not retribution and revenge and, you know, trying to get one over on someone or anything. If that's the expectation, the intention, and the impatience and everything, it is the experience you're going to have. However, when you operate from a place of purity and you are simply doing the right thing, you are defending yourself or bringing others to the table because there's an injustice, there's an imbalance, and you're willing to be open and speak and mediate and compromise, well, then when that dynamic is present, great things occur, advancement, and this allows everything to blossom and unfold. Just as winter appears at a time when the world appears lifeless, there is much going on in your underground world. So it's to be mindful about, even though we may not see progress or we may not see that there's activity going on because it's quote unquote underground, there's still much life, much activity happening from the unseen, behind the scenes. 10,000 seeds are becoming the landscape of your spring. When you feel frustrated, take a walk in the woods. You'll be amazed, and remember this was from last week, into the woods. You'll be amazed at the realizations you will have when you are away from your phone and computer. So in essence here, it's about taking a step back, taking a breath, a breather, doing something that shifts your focus and your alignment so that, because when our face is pressed up against the glass, we can't see properly. But when we step back, we're able to see everything. We afford ourselves space, grace, new perspective. It all allows us to disengage so that we re-engage more purely, more empowered, and with greater clarity. So Carrie Home goes on to say, in fact, if you were to have a conversation with trees and bushes, they might ask, and this is our second quote, and I absolutely love this image, why walk in circles when life plants you exactly where you need to be? And you see this beautiful blue and gold spiral with this center tree of life, the sacred geometry image of the tree of life in the center. And so what this image speaks to is life is a spiral, evolution, ascending, descending, whichever way we're working with at the moment. But it's why walk in circles when life plants you exactly where you need to be. Bloom where you are planted. You're at the right place at the right time, always, in all ways. The deck shuffling. And nature teaches us. So nature is the greatest teacher of how to be steadfast and move in time with the changing cycles. The grass doesn't plan to grow, it just does. The trees, the leaves bloom on the trees, the flowers bloom on the vines. It's organic, it's natural, it occurs, and it's in harmony and grace. Discover the contentment of following life on its own terms. Follow the great circle and allow standstill to unleash an innovative approach within you. And when she talks about follow the great circle, because of course the quote is, why walk in circles? The path is rarely ever direct, a straight line. It meanders, it moves, there's all of these beautiful curvatures. However, the cycle of life, the spiral of life, our planets, there's a reference to them being a circle, round. And so again, it's follow the great circle. It's in following the cosmic rhythms, the cosmic creation of things. It is not about walking in circles and tying yourself up in knots as though you don't have any control and its life is happening to you and all of these things. No, It is about progressing one step after the other in a natural way, because you're aware, you're consciously aware, and you can see, you're listening to your soul source connection, and you can see the next step to take in what to do. Now, bringing in number 3 before we jump to our main bloom where you were planted. They said the best laid plans, the unseen said, best laid plans, intentions. And this meaning, the statement to this meaning, the meaning to this statement is, no matter how carefully a plan or a project is planned, something may still go awry or may change or may present itself. And so the unseen is saying to us, best laid plans, or, life happens while we're planning. That's another great idiom. It's to be, and it's number 3. So it's higher octave, the Trinity, and it's saying to us, adapt, edit, revise, start over, begin anew, expand. So in essence, don't believe that you're stuck. Don't believe that because you had a plan and so forth, and it's not happening exactly the way you wanted it to, that means it's wrong, it's bad, it's never going to happen. Again, soul source connection, higher octave GPS. The unseen is guiding you to say, okay, it's not happening this way for a reason. Bloom where you're planted. And you'll see how this all ties together. We're getting there. But the point is, okay, I've been going down this road or this path. Now I'm hitting an obstacle or something's not panning out the way I had hoped and so forth. And the unseen is saying to us, adapt, edit, revise, start over, begin anew, expand, change, revisit. It's all of, because Mercury, Sun, CAZIMI. Mercury, how we communicate, how we think, how we interact. It has to do with film, cellulite, things that are recorded, technology, and all these things. So and the CAZIMI is burning away the old, so that Mercury is renewed, which means we're renewed. Welcome, Olivia. So there's this beauty in the fact that they're saying to us, best laid plans, intentions. Well, no matter how carefully we've done something, when should we hit a roadblock? Should you hit a roadblock? Don't let it overwhelm you. Don't let it overcome you. And don't let it stop you. Allow it to evolve you, refine you, so that you move forward in a more empowered way, because you'll have given yourself the grace and the moment to recognize aha moments, to receive them. Ah, okay, I didn't see this before, so I should go this way. And then it just opens. It's like green lights. When, live in any metropolitan, Manhattan, Los Angeles, or whatever, hit green lights all the way. That's the universe. You're in alignment with soul source connection. You are getting green lights all the way. If you're hitting one yellow light or red light after the other, and you know this in our literal physical world of driving, it's like, really? Can't we just get through, green lights? And then when you hit them, you just smile, because it allows you to move more rapidly, more quickly, more effortlessly. That's what we're talking about. So let's move to bloom where you're planted, our main theme. And this is from Danielle Burnock. It's from Christianity.com. It's as a reference. So take it spiritually and so forth. And just to bring up the main theme again, this beautiful bloom where you are planted. And it has the images of a blue rose. And I would invite all the listeners to research the order of the blue rose and the significance of it, the beauty, the purity of it. So here we are. The phrase bloom where you are planted gets thrown around a lot. Many think it originated from the Bible, and others know this isn't true. The sentiment can be found in scripture, but not the exact words. An American graphic artist and illustrator made the phrase famous with her book, Mary Engelbreit, The Art and the Artist. But she didn't originate the phrase. The American radio broadcaster Paul Harvey used the phrase a decade before Mary's book, yet he was also not the originator of it either. So where did it come from? Bloom where you were planted has a similar origin to the Celtic cross. We only know some things and cannot confirm others. So what does it mean? Bloom where you were planted can mean various things depending on its usage. One, to be fruitful, blossom, become all you were created to be. A second thing can be make the best of what you have when life throws lemons at you. Lemons, challenges, aka opportunities. To step back, best laid plans. It's now or never. We can look at these things. And then the third aspect is do what's right even when it's hard. Either has their place and even corresponding scripture. And so before we continue on with Daniel Burnock's writing about this, what we know about bloom where you are planted. I first heard of this when I relocated from Los Angeles to Paris. And I'm in a foreign country, foreign language, everything foreign. And that was the first time, and it's a little pamphlet book that the American speaking community in France gives you. And it says bloom where you're planted. And so there's an awakening for me at that moment. It was this simple message that said, be childlike again, embrace where you are. In other words, I'm not in the United States of America in Los Angeles anymore. I'm in Paris, France. So different language, different customs, different food, different clothing, different way of life. Everything's different. And yet the moral was the same. I'm there. So I either embrace it, I either bloom where I am planted, or I don't. Because when I don't, I'm going to suffer. It's going to be like salmon swimming up a river. It's organic and natural to them. It's not for human beings. And so that's the more simple part of the message. The greater, deeper part of the message, which goes back to biblical times, which you'll see here in a moment, is that everything is purposeful. There are no mistakes. There are no accidents. There's life plans, soul plans, and life choices. And it is incumbent upon each of us to look at where we are and bloom where we are planted. Find the reasons, find the opportunities, find the advancement, find the joys, find the gifts, the pearls. Living in France was one of the most extraordinary life experiences I have ever had. And I am so very grateful. At the end of it, a coworker said, "Wow, you really lived here." There were many who just existed or didn't like it, really went against the grain. You, however, lived. And there's a moral to that story of that's the point. That is the deeper message that it goes back millennia. So let's continue. Danielle Burnock with Christianity.com. So be fruitful. St. Francis de Sales, when he was the Bishop of Geneva, is recorded as saying this: truly, charity has no limit, for the love of God has been poured into our hearts by his Spirit dwelling in each one of us, calling us to a life of devotion and inviting us to bloom in the garden where he has planted, and directing us to radiate the beauty and spread the fragrance of his providence. She says, as you can see, it's not a direct quote of the idiom, but it carries its meaning. The words of St. Francis of de Sales were inspired by words in the Bible. In the book of Genesis, after God created Adam and Eve, he blessed them and told them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. So, and subdue it in the sense that, so nature left to itself is wild, chaos, and yet it knows what it's doing. It organically moves, shifts, operates. And then humanity comes and it says, now let us refine that power, that energy, that force. Let us harmonize with it. Let us refine it. Let us craft it. Let us utilize it. However, with reverence, like with Aboriginal and Indigenous peoples, they worked in harmony with spirit, with Mother Earth, with nature, with one another. They were in unity, and they did so in such a harmonious, beautiful way, balanced. And so this is something that modern day humanity has forgotten. We have strayed so far from that concept. She goes on to say, it's a quote from Jeremiah 17:7-8. But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves are always green. It has no worries in a year of drought and never fails to bear fruit. Because again, the tree is in alignment with nourishment, with source, with this bloom where you're planted. Scripture and other writings such as these encourage us to be all that God has made us to be. So again, however you, higher power, source, Allah, Buddha, however you resonate, the beauty is in the fact that you're being guided, and the wisdom, the divine wisdom, is to bloom where you are planted, that you were always at the right place at the right time, and that it's purposeful. And it's up to us to take that beat, that pause, to allow to discover what it is. Make the best of life. Using the phrase in this way encourages resilience. Sometimes life is hard. Things don't always go, quote, according to plan. Best laid plans, intentions. Even in less than wonderful situations, we have control over how we respond. Blooming where we are planted is to make the choice to respond in a positive manner. It's in agreement with another familiar phrase about making lemonade when life throws you lemons. It's to realize, it's to keep at the forefront. You're always somewhere, you're not lost, where are you? And it's purposeful. If you keep coming back to wherever you are, this is purposeful. What's its purpose? What did my soul say it wanted or would do or wanted to experience? And thereby you will find that you bloom, you radiate, that you operate from a place of positivity, because it's a truth. It's a literal truth and knowing. She goes on to say, when many Israelites were exiled to Babylon, they were in a far less than wonderful situation. However, God told them, in a way, to bloom where they were planted for that time. And this is the aspect that I was talking. It goes back to biblical times. This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says to all those I carried into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon. Quote, build houses and settle down, plant gardens and eat what they produce, marry and have sons and daughters, find wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage, so that they too may have sons and daughters. Increase in number there, do not decrease. So see, it's to expand, even in hardship, or what's perceived to be hardship, an exile from Jerusalem to Babylon. It's divinely orchestrated, it's divinely guided. And as challenging, because we readily accept it when it's positive, and we readily reject it when it's negative, perceived to be positive or negative. However, it's increase in number, do not decrease. So it's expand, do not contract. Also, seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper. So that's from Jeremiah 29. So here's the purity of the message is wherever we find ourselves. And a few years back, a personal reference again was, I was somewhere, quote unquote, I didn't want to be. And so for 4 years, the first 2.5 years, I was miserable. I was fighting against myself, and I was causing myself so much hardship, challenge, frustration. It was not pretty. And then there was this moment, this bloom where you are planted moment. And what occurred in the last 1.5 years of my stay in this location was extraordinary. All of these things that I had been blocking, not seeing, face pressed up against the glass, unable, unwilling to see them. And then, like, just this flood, this most beautiful flood of, oh my gosh, all of this has been here all along. And so, of course, we can naturally have regret too, because we weren't willing to face ourselves. We weren't willing to surrender. However, the minute we do, and we're surrendering to ourselves, to our soul source connection, and the universe, the unseen, they're so patient. They really are. And they allow us divine time, our time, to a degree, to a great degree and point. However, the moral is, once we allow, once we come into the understanding of this is purposeful, I'm here for a reason, and it's not typically the surface reason, meaning the human level reason. Oh, I've gone to this place to assist a loved one, or I'm here because of this job, or whatever the human aspect is that creates the experience and the opportunity. What this is speaking to, this bloom where you were planted, is that there's a far higher reasons. There's a far higher soul octave reason for where you are, what you're experiencing, and so forth. So as to allow that, because you're going to expand, you're going to advance, and it will change you in a way as that experience did me. In the Do What's Right, Danielle Burnock says, doing what's right when it's hard is hard. Perhaps that's why Paul gives this instruction in 1 Corinthians 7, which is another place we find the sentiment of blooming where we are planted. This passage does not sanction human slavery, especially in the way slavery was practiced in the West during the 17th to 19th centuries. Instead, this passage is a call to honor God above men. So, higher source, to love your neighbor as yourself, thy God above all other. Quote, each person should remain in the situation they were in when God called them. Were you a slave when you were called? Don't let it trouble you. Although if you gain your freedom, do so. For the one who was a slave when called to faith in the Lord is the Lord's freed person. Similarly, the one who was free when called is Christ's slave, meaning in service to. You were bought at a price. The crucifixion, the resurrection, the abolition of sin. Do not become slaves of human beings. So you were bought at a price. Do not become slaves of human beings. So again, in our modern day, where we are so enslaved to the ego, mind, personality, and to other quote unquote humans, leaders. And here it's clearly in 1 Corinthians 7, it's clearly saying you were bought at a price. So in essence, the sacrifice, I mean, it's enormous. So do not become slaves of human beings. Soul source connection, God positioning satellite, true north, original intelligence. It's to follow your soul, your heart, not your ego, mind, personality. Goes on to say, brothers and sisters, each person as responsible to God should remain in the situation they were in when God called them. She goes on to say, bloom where you are planted doesn't mean to stay stuck. Blooming where you are planted doesn't mean you can't improve yourself or must stay stuck in an awful place. Anything, far from it. Bloom where you are planted is the most empowering act and permission you will give yourself. She says, let me remind you of the line above. If you can gain your freedom, do so. The Bible is full of words encouraging us to grow and change, to evolve, to expand. There are times to bloom where we are planted and times for us to be transplanted so we can bloom even better elsewhere. Just follow where the Lord leads you. So follow where the unseen, your soul source connection, guides you. It's always pure, purest of intentions. It's always true north. And it will never lead you astray. It will never allow you to do something not correct, impure. Ego, mind, personality, absolutely all day long, 1,000 times a day. So it's about allowing. Remember, this is all about patriarchal Piscean era, ego, mind, personality, Mars. With great respect, with great reverence, with great gratitude and appreciation. Namaste, I bow to the divine in you, and now I place you in the sidecar. And Aquarian matriarchal soul source connection takes the driver's seat. 17, follow, be led, lead by example. It's to demonstrate the purity, the return of our purity, of our soul, leading the divine feminine, harmony, balance, unity, justice, equality. And there's nothing to fear in that. There is so much fear in the current conversation and dialogue and world stage. All this fear about your fellow human, about, it was back in the day, the colors of Benetton, that heaven forbid everyone would sit at the table and find commonality and inspiration and unity and goodness, and that we could raise each other up. That is nothing to be feared, and everything, Three of Cups, everything to be celebrated. Because in that unity, in that cosmic environment and event, in that cosmic fullness, everyone's shining their light in the most beautiful way. It's in harmony, it's in unity, and it's good for us. It's not anything to be feared, and it's not weak or woke or less than. It is the most empowered you could possibly be. Danielle goes on to say, the sentiment of the phrase bloom where you are planted has been around for centuries, millennia, but the first publication of the exact phrase cannot be verified. And so here's this, its origin is unknown. The purity of its message is millennia old and as vitally important today as it was then. And so we look at these things and we say, again, why? It's our key word, fulfillment. It brings us back to a state of fulfillment where we shine, we bloom, we advance, and we do so in a way that is respectful, that recognizes the divinity in everyone and everything, each other, Mother Earth, nature, and that we do everything we can to respect that, to ensure its legacy, its life, its ongoing sustenance, because we're receiving that. And so there's a lot here for us in this message. I want to go to the Sabian symbols really quickly before we close everything out for today's show. And so with the Mars square Pluto aspect, the first symbol, Mars is at 1 degree, so it's 2 degrees Taurus, an electrical storm. The cosmic power able to transform all the implications of natural existence. Now remember, Pluto is sitting at this the 2nd degree of Aquarius, an unexpected thunderstorm, the need to develop the inner security which will enable us to meet unexpected crises. So an unexpected thunderstorm, Pluto, an electrical storm, Mars. With Mars, at this stage we see a picture which contrasts with the first one, thus a celestial display of power versus a clear, lovely sounding little stream. Remember the Three of Cups. A celestial display of power. I'm going to just bring it up here again really quickly. Three of Cups. So we see the fullness of the full moon. We see the celestial orbs, the celestial power. Behind every natural self-expression stands the tremendous power of the soul field, itself but one of the myriad aspects of the creative word that is the origin of this universe. At certain times, this power compels the natural earth-conditioned personality to accept, perhaps in awe, the spiritual potentialities of its higher celestial destiny. There's a higher offering here. There's a higher calling. There's a higher, we're going back to where we began, but an octave higher. Destiny. This experience of power can both illumine and shatter. And we can see this on the world stage. We see this experience of power can both illumine, advance us, upgrade us, move us forward, or shatter the illusions. Shatter because we're clinging to the past. So it can either illumine or shatter. The next symbol reveals its positive possibilities. This is a stage of existence in which revelation is implied. We've been speaking about revelation for some time now on this journey, at least as a potentiality. The consciousness may be deeply disturbed by, quote, the visitation, celestial power, displays of celestial power. But the substance of the individual being can be made fertile or productive by the experience. So we have a very clear electrical storm and unexpected thunderstorm. Storms. 51, shock, thunder, shock and awe. It's the tower. Let me bring this back. This was from a show or two ago. It's the image of the tower. And remember, the tower is divine and neutral. It's neither positive nor negative. It comes about to advance us, to shake us loose. And Pluto is there retrograding back into Capricorn this last time to shake the foundations, to shake the tree loose so that we're made fertile and productive. It's about releasing the past. So the next degree where Mars is Taurus 3 degrees, natural steps lead to a lawn of clover in bloom. The gradual expansion of the individual consciousness after a fertile or productive experience. So again, they've told us, the unseen has told us, it's now or never. There's this window of time. It's kind of between now and first, maybe in the US, the 4th of July, Independence Day. It's somewhere in between this window of time and how these natural steps lead to a lawn of clover in bloom. Having been activated by electrical energy, and remember all the solar flares, solar maximum, our sun is just shooting one massive storm, electrical storm, towards the earth, and we're reaching solar maximum. So having been activated by electrical energy, the pure water of the mountain stream is able to fertilize the soil, which covers itself with small blossoms. Clover, however, is normally a symbol of the triad, the Trinity, and thus of the often mentioned three natures in man. To reach the flowering garden of mind, the consciousness must proceed by steps. Effort is needed. What is reached is a flowering display of the simple, quite humble kind, yet bees are after it for honey. There is sweetness and energy latent in the blooms, in the blossoms. At this third stage, it is a stage at which one should seek with diligence and determination, but in humility and faith, natural fulfillment. So see, it's about knowing that it's ever abundant. It's clover, it's a field of clover, and that it's effervescent, it's limitless prosperity and abundance, and that it's the sweetness and energy that the bees are coming after in the blossoms. And yet what it's saying is, and approach that, pursue that with diligence and determination, but from a place of humility and faith, grace. And it affords us natural fulfillment. So, because all of this, when Pluto then goes back to 0 degrees, it's going to be this concretization of an ideal. And so We are at this apex moment, and the writing's on the wall. We're advancing. The old era, the old order, the old way. And again, people, institutions, governments, businesses, you know, when I say I implore you to listen, it's from the unseen. Like, we're being implored to listen, to choose, to be proactive, and to choose differently. Because the arc of destiny is forward. It doesn't go backwards, it goes forward. And so we are at this apex moment, this choice point. And number 6 from the unseen is, they said sunshine and roses. And that means very enjoyable and pleasant, especially in a romantic situation. So, however, they're saying sunshine and roses. Now, there's another idiom where it's like, it's not all sunshine and roses. Here, it's number 6, so it's spirit and service, and the unseen is saying it's about sunshine and roses. It is about very enjoyable and pleasant experiences moving forward in the present future. Those very enjoyable and pleasant sunshine and roses moments in the patriarchal era, the Piscean era, we have already experienced. They're done. Now we move to these new ones. And in number 5, the unseen said, after long awaited desire, anticipation, and or frustration, finally, it's here. Finally, it's he, she, they, it. So it can be a person, a place, a thing, an event. But after long awaited desire, anticipation, or frustration, finally, it's here. So again, we've got this window and something, because last but not least, number 4 from the unseen, they said unexpected, and they underlined this word unexpected. Unexpected pleasures. Prepare to take off. And then they said, Houston, we have liftoff. And so there's this empowering message. And remember, no matter where you are, bloom where you are planted. And it does not mean that you are stuck and you can never leave the place you're in, or the circumstance you're in, or the job you're in, or the relationship you're in. Because again, as it harks back to Daniel Burnock's article, of course you can set yourself free, transplant yourself, move to the next thing, and bloom where you're planted there. Because it's all purposeful. It's all divinely orchestrated. It's all what your soul said it would do, or wanted to experience, or learn, or achieve, or triumph. And so we have this beautiful, beautiful nourishment. I'm gonna close with this. It's it's the Mercury Sun CAZIMI, the Sabian symbol, and there's 2. This one's for Saturn. It says a table set for an evening meal, an indication that in the end and at the appointed time, the individual's needs will be met among those to whom they are linked by a spiritual or biological web of energies. So it's saying to us that at the right time, divine time, right place, right time, and at the appointed time, divine time, the individual's needs will be met through either a spiritual or biological web of energies, the unseen, what's operating behind the scenes that we cannot see. The significant element in this scene is not only the meal, but the fact that it is an evening meal. To use traditional symbolism, after a long chain of personal existences, the soul returns to its spiritual home at the close of the day of manifestation. There it finds that which renews and amply sustains. The happiness of the, quote, beyond existence is experienced when all has gone well. So again, you experience these things when all has gone well, meaning you're in alignment with purity of intention, soul source connection. You're operating from a place of humility, faith, purity, goodness, and thereby this happiness beyond existence is experienced. This symbol promises a satisfying or fulfilling end to whatever one has been undertaking. As the life closes, the soul consciousness finds nourishment in the harvest of whatever during the whole life has been relevant to the archetypal purpose and destiny of the soul, one of the myriad aspects of the divine creative word which began the cycle. So, at the close of life and within the multiple experiences of the incarnation of life, we have this nourishment, this fulfillment, because we bloomed where we planted. We understood it was purposeful, and we operated in alignment with our soul source connection. Do no harm. It's collaboration, not competition. It's unity, not quote unquote community, division, hierarchy. Last but not least is where the sun and Mercury are, the degree, a gardener trimming large palm trees, bringing under control nature's power of expansion. And simply we'll close with this because we're running long. What this is talking about is that at this stage we have reached the level of fulfillment. You see fulfillment over and over and over again in this week's messages. And it's the fulfillment of the impulses which began at the first stage, in a tumultuous upsurge of self-assertion and protest against the past. Now this upsurge has found its place in the evolution of humankind and society, and symbolically speaking, labor has become not only unionized, but a strong force in the body politic. So whether it's unionized, but it's about unity, coming together, we the people. So we found this point, symbolically speaking, of this point of unity. And it says, yet the energies released seek constant expansion and therefore have to be controlled, meaning there's repeated need for pruning. And so this is why correct, I believe it's hexagram 10, and it's cautious advance. It's about this pruning. It's about as we expand, because everything is naturally expanding. Everything in nature, in our cosmic universe and everything is expanding. So as we spoke about earlier, chaos, raw power being refined. As we move, as we come together, we the people, and we unionize, we come together in unity and everything, and we're advancing, and there's all this expansion, there is still need for repeated pruning. Because when we prune gardens, trees, plants, and so forth, the best of them blossoms, comes forward, flowers. Otherwise, we have overgrowth. It's like it just runs amok. It's chaos. It's organic. It's natural. It's just not refined. And so, bloom where you're planted, at the right place at the right time. It's now or never. Make your moves or forever hold your peace. There are unexpected pleasures. You will take off on things. And after long-awaited desire, anticipation, and frustration, finally, whatever it is for you, it's here. Because it's about sunshine and roses. And it's about how we curate, how we prune, curate our life experiences, our relationships, our communications. There is a constant and repeated need for pruning to maintain harmony, balance, purity, goodness, beauty. That's where we are. Big energies. And I'll close with this because it's 6, 12, 24. And if you notice, the 6, double the 6, it becomes a 12. Double the 12, it becomes a 24. And so with this 6, 12, 24, all I heard was boom, triple boom. So again, things may come to you in triple. Because again, that Trinity aspect of best laid plans, allow it to adapt and everything, and yet unexpected pleasures. So somewhere in this, and what this too is saying, and I'll close with this, I'm sorry I've said that 5 times, this now or never moment, whatever, whether it's somebody that needs to make a move, or something towards you or you towards them, whatever it may be, what the unseen is saying as well at this moment, in this window kind of between now and the 4th of July in the US, but it applies for everyone, just using that as a window. Should whomever, whatever, not make their move and not, speak their piece, after that, the window, so after the 4th of July, if you will, the window closes on that, and something new arrives. Something new, because again, deck shuffle. And so we alter because things aren't, if this isn't aligning, whatever this may be for you, something new, that window will close and something new will present itself. And again, in that new, or in the current scenario, someone speaks their piece, there's a triple boom, there's a triple um, opportunity, or triple events, and they're positive, something good. So three different instances where something good will come, no matter whether it's the current or what's new, should no one speak their piece. We'll close with that. I love you all. Thank you so much. There was a lot here. The moral of the story is bloom where you're planted, because it's purposeful. And it's incumbent upon each of us to discern what's on offer for us. Love you all. Until next week, be well, be kind, and nourish yourselves. Seek and offer fulfillment. We'll see you next week.